Ladies and gentlemen, President Trump just got 3 unanimous Supreme Court decisions in his favor. Okay, one pertains to the Second Amendment, the other pertains to reverse discrimination, and the third pertains to religious freedom. We'll get to all 3. Hit subscribe to this channel. We'll do numerous live streams on this, maybe tonight, definitely tomorrow. Thank you, by the way, for the live stream support last night. It was wonderful. We had over 1,000 viewers live. It was awesome. And if you want to give a super thanks, that's below. Hit subscribe. Check this out. This is huge. 3 Supreme Court victories for President Trump. 3. And he's the antithesis of a despot, tyrant, totalitarian. He is the opposite of a totalitarian or authoritarian or a dictator or anything like that. He's the opposite. He's the antithesis. Usually despots and tyrants don't have the U.S. Supreme Court in this case ruling unanimously, and even the liberal justices. That's what unanimous means. Wonderful, morally superior, highly educated, liberal, Democrat, and progressive who thinks that they're on the right side of history at all times. Well, we'll probably look back and say, oh, okay, they weren't. They definitely weren't, especially when the Supreme Court routinely votes and rules and decides in Trump's favor, because Democrats routinely engage in unconstitutional behavior. Hit subscribe. Check this out.
To discuss it, former Deputy Assistant General Attorney General John Yoo. Great to have you here, and let's dive right in. Majority decision by the court. I don't know why this was so hard. Discrimination is discrimination, but what does this mean to the future of potential cases, and could this mean something to the Office of Civil Rights?
This decision means that no matter your race, no matter your sex, no matter your national origin, if your employer discriminates against you, you have a right as an individual, not as a member of a group, to bring a lawsuit under the Civil Rights Act of 1964. What struck me as bizarre about this case, which I did not know about until I read this decision, that there were some courts in the country, like the ones in Ohio, that were saying, but if you're from a majority group and you get discriminated against, it's going to be harder for you to bring your cases. And as the Supreme Court said, as Justice Jackson said, there's no support for that in the text of the Civil Rights Act. And if there were, I think it might even be unconstitutional.
So the political philosophy of modern day Democrats revolves around what every Supreme Court justice just refuted. So the political philosophy has been the Democratic Party's modern day political philosophy has been nuked from orbit, completely obliterated by this decision. Let's continue.
The Constitution and our laws treat each of us as individuals, and we cannot be treated as members of groups. That's the message from the court today.
White privilege doesn't have a legal definition, John, or the patriarchy doesn't have a legal definition. What this does, it just doesn't resolve this woman's claim. It just lets her, because this case had been dismissed, it lets her file suit again and pursue it, a legal path with it, correct?
That's exactly right, Dagan. Her case was just kicked out of court immediately because they said, since you're a white woman and you're claiming discrimination against you on behalf of a gay man and behalf of a lesbian woman, you can't even get into court because you got to satisfy a higher standard than applies to everybody else. And so the Supreme Court said, that's wrong. No, everyone's treated as an individual. And so Ms. Ames can now return to court, file her case, probably get things going, and then hopefully the Ohio state government will treat her better, maybe realize the error of its ways, and grant her some kind of relief.
It shouldn't be lost on us that this was a government agency acting in a discriminatory manner. That shouldn't be lost on us, should it?
No, I think there's 2 agencies who got things wrong. First are the courts in Ohio that were demanding, unlike other courts in the country, that a white person have to meet some higher standard to bring a court. But yes, you're exactly right, Dave. The real wrongdoer here, if the facts bear it out, Because as Kagan said, we still are just at the very preliminary stages of this suit. As the facts bear, if the facts bear this out, it was the state of Ohio, this Ohio government agency, that was treating her differently because she was a white woman in favor of, again, a gay man or in favor of a lesbian.
Another major decision today, John, from the justices, a unanimous one. The Supreme Court rejecting Mexico's $10 billion attempt to hold American gun manufacturers liable for cartel violence.
And a plot twist, liberal Justice Elena Kagan writing the opinion for the court, quote, Mexico here focuses on the manufacturer's production of military-style assault weapons, among which it includes AR-15 rifles, AK-47 rifles, and 50.
And so this takes us back to a program in President Obama's administration, a miserably failed program pertaining to the export or the, you can look up Fast and Furious and President Obama's administration. But it was a miserably failed program that Democrats are quiet about, never talked about. But the political philosophy here is, well, the manufacturers are at fault. And Mexico and liberal Democrats both feel that is logical and rational. The problem is there's something called free will. Human beings are born with free will. You cannot legislate. I mean, laws are meant to keep people safe, okay? We have the Second Amendment specifically for that purpose. You can't ignore the good and rational and reasonable aspects of the Second Amendment to keep you and your family, your livelihood, to keep you safe. But anyway, let's continue. Let's just continue.
50 caliber sniper rifles, but those products are widely legal and bought by many ordinary consumers. Now, first of all, I object, as someone who uses these weapons, to the military style. They're semi-automatic as sold, unless illegally modified. But to this decision to protect the manufacturer and to protect them from a foreign government, does this close down some of the internal cases being brought by these states, or does it not?
I think it will have some effect on them. Realize how incredible this case was. The government of Mexico, instead of handling the gun problem itself, or instead of going to the United States government diplomatically, they tried to go into our own courts, right? They went to our courts to sue our gun manufacturers.
And that's because liberal Democrats feel that these things are frightening and scary, and that they magically manipulate themselves and take the lives of others, that human beings are not really part of the equation. So they use a euphemism called gun violence. Suddenly, there's no such thing as gang violence anymore. Suddenly, the human aspect of a criminal or a maniac that walks into a crowded place and tries to end the lives of as many people as possible, Democrats don't acknowledge that the only way to stop that person in real time is by reciprocal force. Reciprocal force. That's why the Second Amendment is there. Okay? That's why you have liberal or progressive politicians, Democrats, in Congress paying tens of thousands of dollars every year for a security detail. In America, you don't need a security detail. You have the Second Amendment. Okay? If you can get concealed carry, you like I have, like you have maybe, you can go ahead and as long as you have a good record, you have a good background check and everything, you can buy firearms to protect yourself, okay, against people who a random maniac that wants to, God forbid, do you harm. See, what Democrats do is they say it's the firearm that's the problem. If we just eliminated the firearm, there would be no gun violence. Okay, but they don't have that same mentality when, for example, President Trump is enforcing immigration laws. And the vast majority, of course, of undocumented immigrants are wonderful, beautiful, amazing people. But you have a mother of 5 in Maryland who was brutally taken from this earth by an absolute maniac who shouldn't have been here. Had he not been here, she would have been alive today. That teenager in Texas would have been alive today as well. But, but Democrats don't see things that way. Remove the guns, no problem. Everything will be great. Make sure that people are vetted and with background checks and ensure that people who shouldn't be in the country are removed from the country. No, you can't go there. You can't go there. Only remove the inanimate objects. Anyway, hit subscribe to this channel right now. 3 unanimous Supreme Court decisions. CBS News right here. The Hill, CBS News, NPR right here, and SCOTUS right here. You can see 3 unanimous decisions. Hit subscribe. This is really important, ladies and gentlemen. Share this everywhere. Thank you.